Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. I am your host, the Fellow KGB. You can follow me at the Fellow KGB. And tonight we are joined with John Heffernon and Drake Sanford. We're going to be kind of hanging out, answering some questions from the chat room in a little bit. And we're just going to kind of talk about what's been on our minds, what have we been noticing in the NBA and fantasy basketball so far. But John, man, how's it going? Welcome to the show.
Good, man. Good. How are you?
Doing fantastic. It's a lovely Tuesday afternoon. I guess it's 6:30 p.m. Central Time, so lovely Tuesday evening. What's going on, Drake? How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Happy to be here talking some basketball.
Yeah, are the Cavs playing tonight?
No, they're not. They're off tonight.
I'll just pull up that schedule real quick, but I'm kind of unsure where to go and what to talk about. There's a couple things on my mind. I did my Monday night waiver wire show, so there were a handful of guys that I called up last night on the show to talk about. But it looks like only 6 games tonight. Raptors Magic are underway right now in the second quarter. You got the Clippers and the Nets. That one's on TNT. That one's just starting up any minute here. So that might
TNT Tuesdays. What was I telling you guys?
TNT. And then the nightcap is Celtics and Warriors. So there's some decent games on the TNT tonight.
Wow. We're spoiled tonight.
And then before we get into things, I don't know. I kind of like just looking at the standings and just kind of getting the scope of things. The Celtics have fallen a little bit. They're 5-5 in their last 10 games, 2 in a row losing here. They're 10-8. And I was talking on the side with Matt Boehm about just the Bucks and what's their floor. But man, these top 4 seeds this is going to be a really fun top 4 of the East to keep an eye on here. I don't know. John, how do you feel about these top 4 teams? Is there any other team in the East that we should be kind of keeping an eye on as a dark horse?
Well, yeah, the top 4 I like a lot. Celtics got screwed a little bit by the schedule recently. They had a back-to-back against, maybe not a back-to-back, but they played 2 games in a row against the Sixers. Obviously, the Sixers are kind of the class of the conference right now, so that does not help their record. Pacers are always really scrappy. I always like what I see from them in the regular season, but they're just not a playoff team. But I wouldn't be shocked if they could somehow creep up into the 4, maybe even the 3 slot if there's some injuries that they can take advantage of for other contending teams. Hawks I like a lot. After that, there's teams I think like perhaps the Raptors could bounce back and make a push for a top 4, top 5 with a really strong like second half run. But really outside of that, I don't see anyone else vying for a home court in the first round in the East.
Right. And Drake, did you have anything to add on that? I mean, it's pretty much a 4-man show for the East so far, but Pacers are playing some good ball. And then the Hawks and the Cavs are kind of fun young teams to follow. They might be kind of pesky for those 2nd, 3rd, 4th seeds if they can get in there.
Yeah. I think you said it right. They got 2 young teams there in the middle. You expect, probably 2 of the 3 of those to be out of the playoffs, though, when you're looking at it. Obviously, the Heat are going to be, right? The Heat are going to be in the playoffs?
Whoa.
I would assume so. Maybe not. I don't know. It's bad down there right now, guys. That's a team I've been watching, and it's no first-round picks for a while, and they're stuck with what they got. And maybe they turn that around. But
is Tyler Hero back yet?
I don't think so, but I'm not certain.
We did have a good question here in the chat room. This might be more geared towards Drake, our resident Cavaliers man.
Yes,
Justin's wondering if Andre gets traded. Is Allen, up for the huge workload? Did you guys see
Yes.
Jared Allen's stat line last night?
Well, you saw it because he was playing against you.
Yeah, it was pretty nuts. 23 points, 18 rebounds. That's probably his career high. And then he had
10 and 10 after the first quarter.
Right. So, obviously a big amount of minutes, 35 minutes. I don't know if that's, going to be easy to duplicate, but Drummond was out in this game, and it just gave us a sneak peek at if Drummond's been kind of the hot name. If they do decide to move him at some point this year, Jared Allen's going to be a beast. So I don't know do you as the Cavalier guy, does it make sense that they're going to move Drummond at some point, or what do we do with Jared Allen?
It kind of depends. The Cavs have been a little, stagnant with the front office moves, kind of making those big splashes. They've actually just been acquiring players, and that's what they're working on right now is acquiring talent. And they are trying to make the playoffs this year. So as crazy as that sounds and what it is, that's their goal. They want to be in the playoffs regardless. So I don't know if we see a Drummond move. A Drummond move would make sense. I do it every time I play 2K with the Cavs. So they should do it, right? But Jared Allen, we're going to see the minutes probably stay in that 25 to 31, 32 a game. That's just going to happen. He's part of their young plan. They got him on the cheap, and they're going to work him into this young core. And that's what their whole, that's what JB's all about right now. So I think you're not going to see that many points from Jared Allen. That's kind of an outlier, getting 22 points scored.
Mm-hmm.
You'll expect to see 10.
Somewhere in that 10 to 15 range at the ceiling probably is a good spot.
But you'll get the blocks, you'll get the rebounds, and it's just part of this young, fun team that's just trying to make some noise right now at this point.
The one name that I don't see on this depth chart, maybe because he's still out, it's Kevin Love. So when Kevin Love comes back, that's also going to make some things, for minutes a little bit squashed. And Larry Nance Jr. has been I think he's got a wrist injury where he hasn't been shooting as well, but he's rebounding just as fun.
Yeah.
Man, they got these 5 really good big players here. And I don't know, man. We got a couple people in the chat room. We got Sam saying the Heat should be making the playoffs. The good news is there's still a lot of time. We're 20 games into the season here, and they're only 2.5 games back from the 8th seed. So I would imagine the Hawks and the Cavaliers are going to probably be overlooking their shoulders for the Heat at some point, but maybe even the Raptors if they can get healthy too. So there's going to be some fun competition at the end there. But before, I guess we can look at the Western Conference too. But I don't know if you guys saw, but Aaron Gordon's going to be out for at least 4 weeks. So I kind of pulled up the depth chart for the Orlando Magic yesterday, and I was just kind of trying to figure out, is there anybody here that might be available in a league that we can capitalize on, but they're kind of weak at the power forward for depth. So let me just kind of pull this up here. Of course, most people have Vucevic here, and a lot of people have Cole Anthony, Evan Fournier, and Terrence Ross. Those are probably the 4 players that are on most teams. But is there anybody here on this team that you think could get run with the power forward Aaron Gordon out for a while? I'll throw first, maybe.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, well, I've always been a really big Chuma Okikiki fan. You guys hear me talk about him all the time. So excited for him. No, honestly, I just read his name for the first time. Excuse me, Mr. Okiki. I probably butchered your name, and if I did, I apologize. The Magic big guys are bizarre. Birch is solid, but he's a center. He's a true center. So could you maybe move Vucevic down to power forward? Actually, I think that maybe makes a little bit of sense. Otherwise, you're talking about, and Bamba's okay, but he's a center. I mean, he's just too big and lanky to play power forward. I guess he could, but I think Vucevic maybe moves down a little bit to power forward. I mean, so if anyone's picking up minutes here, it might actually be Vucevic. Mm-hmm. Maybe you start moving some small guys up. So maybe you move Bacon up a spot, or maybe you move Ross, up a spot to one of the forward spots more than the shooting guard spots. Because Fournier, Ross, all those guys are big enough to play spot minutes at power forward for the Magic. But overall, it's gross. I don't want to. I'm not picking anything up unless something looks interesting, and I don't expect anything to look interesting.
And that kind of went along the lines of what I was talking last night. Is Birch is probably their best. Birch and Terrence Ross are their best bench players. I would be interested to see what a Vucevic and Birch lineup looks like. I think that could be kind of fun to play some big ball.
Yeah.
And then I did shout out that Birch, he has value on his own. He's averaging over 21 fantasy points per game. So he should technically be owned in a typical 12-man league. But then I kind of got into some guys like Dwayne Bacon here, he's seen some decent minutes and he's been productive. He's actually a pretty good scorer for them. He's kind of like a Terrence Ross, where he's going to, mainly produce in points and he'll chip in on steals. So he's definitely a guy to keep an eye on for more minutes at the, the 2 spot or the 3 spot. And then I did point out Gary Clark Jr. here. I think he's a junior. Maybe that's a musician I'm thinking of. But he's been getting a ton of minutes too. And that's even when Aaron Gordon was playing. So I don't know if there's anything there. And then we'll just we clicked on Bacon. And then let me just click on James Ennis real quick, because this is the guy that's been getting consistent minutes throughout the year. And he's just kind of like a mid double digits player. So I don't really know. I think it's just going to be all kind of focused back into the starting lineup. But
replacement by committee for sure. But yeah, if Birch's minutes go up, I think he's the biggest dude who could be available, who could instantly become much more useful. according to ESPN, I guess Chuma Okeke is their number one power forward. So I would certainly watch him.
And I just
What
wanted
about Bamba? I mean, do we think they start using some Vu and Bamba lineups at all? What did his minutes look like, Kyle?
Just real quick, tonight they started James Ennis and Gary Clark with Vucevic, Cole Anthony, and Fournier. So there's Birch.
And Bamba hasn't even played, so we don't even have to worry about him. There's no role for him right now. Yeah, I don't like I mean, I was thinking maybe James Ennis because of his minutes, but the production's just not there.
So I don't know.
It's hard to pick a guy on that list.
And he's getting he got 2 rebounds and an assist tonight. So it's just a situation I'm watching just to see who the hot hand or the next guy up would be. But I don't really think there's going to be a lot of fantasy help there for us in Orlando.
That's a very depleted team right now. That's tough. Ouch.
And then I guess while we're kind of focusing on standings and stuff, did any of you guys have any strong feelings on the Western Conference? Anything that surprises us so far, or is this making sense? We'll start with Drake.
Yeah, it's nice to see the Jazz and the Nuggets are up there again. The Jazz being in the 2 is a little surprising, but maybe not. They're a pretty solid team. They played pretty well in the bubble. The Grizzlies sitting there at 5. That's probably because their winning percentage, though. They haven't played that many games. I think the Suns are expected where you're going to be. The Warriors. The Mavericks are probably the most surprising team right now at 8-13. And probably the Pelicans sitting at 7-12. So I don't think the playoff teams are all that surprising. You can mix up the season. It's early in the season. But when you look at the teams that aren't in it right now, looking at the Mavericks and the Pelicans, didn't think that was happening, did we?
I figured them to be, in that 8 to 10 range, competing for one of those playoff tournament spots.
If someone told you the Mavericks were the 4 seed, you probably would have believed them, right?
Yeah. Well, again, no Porzingis for the first month or so, so maybe they're a team that slowly heats up. But just in their last 10 games, they're 2-8, so there's something wrong there. I know they got COVID for a little bit. There was a few guys in and out on that team. But John, did anything surprising you here in the Western Conference, or what do you think?
Well, Memphis is surprising me a little bbit because they missed Morant for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I don't know. I mean, he came back from his injury pretty quickly, but he still missed weeks. And so I hear Drake wholeheartly and agree with him. 9-6, they've played the least amount of games in the conference. Definitely room for this to go off the rails here, but I'm impressed, maybe more than surprised, that they've been able to stay afloat without Morant. And they're not a bad team. In my opinion, they're just very Morant centric because he's by far their best and most important and useful player. So very impressed with what they've done. Totally agree. Mavericks are very shocking to me. Rockets are kind of surprising given all the Harden turmoil, and they're actually playing better now, and they're scrapping around and look like they have a really good shot to go 500 this year.
Is that a 6-game winning streak?
6-game winning streak. I think that And Grizzlies 7.
Wow. Oh yeah, 6-game winning streak. Yeah, second longest in the conference behind who else but my Grizzlies. But those are the teams that are surprising me, I think, the most, or interesting to me the most right now.
Yeah, I'm disappointed in Dallas and New Orleans for sure. I think maybe the Pelicans lost some steam because Lonzo was out for a little bit here, but just overall it's been pretty disappointing getting beat up by the West. But I don't know. We can open it up to some more fantasy talk. We got a question that we'll get into from Aiden here. He's got a new 4-man league I was kind of telling you guys about, so we'll break that down in a little bit. But Memphis Grizzlies, man, they have a lot of fantasy players that are useful right now, and of course it's led by John Morant. But Jonas Valanciunas has been out, so that's been allowing more big men minutes. So guys like Brandon Clark is still very usable. We talked a little bit about DeAnthony Melton off the air. Maybe we'll talk about him in a little bit. But Xavier Tillman playing really well, and Gorgie Deng playing really well too. It looks like they have. I'm seeing total of 8 players averaging over 20 fantasy points per game on the season, which is just nuts. I actually was down on when John Morant came back. I let go of Jones. He's been playing really well just in the backup role, and he's kind of staying hot. So he's been kind of fun. But Drake, you said you were interested in picking up D'Anthony Melton. What's this about? He's a player here who's putting up a lot of points, a lot of assists, and I don't know. He's an older player. He's more of a sixth man for them, but he's coming on of late. What do you think of Melton?
Well, I mean, Melton was super impressive if you guys remember back in early January, and then I don't know what happened. He kind of fell out of the 12 man, and he's been off for this while here when the Grizzlies were off. And then I saw that against the Spurs before they had a couple-day break there that he kind of popped off in fantasy. Clicked him onto my watch list thinking I was being a sneaky little snake. Looked him in the eyes on Monday morning and was like, I don't need to pick you up yet. Why don't I pick up Wayne Ellington, who didn't play last night, by the way, because of a false negative test. So, yeah, Melton, when he's given the opportunity, the guy scores, and he's just that's what he does. He's a good basketball player for fantasy. I mean, look, he's 7'5", 5'2". He's getting steals, blocks. The guy just plays hard basketball. Definitely someone I'm regretting not picking up, but 11.7% rostered. This is definitely a guy to go snag right now. The Grizzlies he's playing minutes. As long as you're getting about, 20 plus minutes with him, I think you'll be pretty satisfied.
Yeah, and just looking down here at some of the numbers, like the more realistic numbers for him to settle into, again, 25 minutes against Minnesota, 22 and 21. That's probably more of an accurate range. But you see 29.75 points, 25, 23. I think he can be around a 25, average player. Mm-hmm. And he kind of plays like George Hill. I don't know if he's as good as a three-point shooter, but watching him, he's kind of just like that ultimate kind of jack of all trades. You can trust him. He's a veteran point guard, and they don't lose a lot when John Morant's off the floor. So I kind of like Melton quite a bit. John, do you have any quick takes for us on Mr. Melton?
No, I think Drake covered it well.
Very cool. But yeah, Memphis, man, they have like 8 players.
They're scrappers. That's what they are.
They are scrappers. Owners of the
definition of next man up for sure.
Have you guys checked out Xavier Tillman yet and seen what he's been doing? This is a player Dalton and I have talked about a little bit, and he's been playing some really good minutes. I know Jonas has been out, but when he just hits 20 minutes, he's going to produce a lot of points. He's averaging 23 fantasy points on the season, and he's under 7% owned, which just seems kind of stupid. This is a guy that in 12 and 14-man leagues, he needs to be owned. So I don't really get it. I know Jonas is coming back soon, and then probably Jaren Jackson's probably coming back at some point this month. But might as well just keep riding the Tillman while it's hot.
Is Jaren Jackson just a day-to-day thing right now still?
He's got the big O, but the plan is to ramp up. This was from yesterday. Ramp up his knee rehab program over the next month or so.
Oh, geez. So we're talking. We could be 2 months here.
Maybe because there's so many.
It's an All-Star break, maybe.
I was thinking post All-Star break, so this might be frustrating for Jaren Jackson on the team. Not only be on a 7-game win streak, but other players are playing well, like Tillman, like Gorgie Dang.
Brandon Clark is a must-own right now. I mean, if you can make a move for Clark.
And he had a rough start. I think the first week or two, people were disappointed, but he snapped right back. He's 71% owned, almost 29 fantasy points per game. And he's just super consistent night in, night out.
See, he was kind of inconsistent and stuff when Ja was out. But now with Ja in, I think,
but it seems
he's a guy to definitely have on your team.
And he's active on defense. I like that. He's a good core player for them. And then, I don't know, Kyle Anderson's the other guy here. I don't know why he's only 55.5% owned. If this is a 10 or 12 team league, he needs to be owned.
He's almost averaging 30 points a game.
Yeah, he's one of their best fantasy players, and he's one of the best players on the court. He's just going to be a guy that kind of fills out all of the stats evenly. He's a good scorer when they need him to be, but just super consistent, super steady. I just can't believe he's under 56% owned. That just seems silly to me.
Low-mo.
Memphis is.
We have spent a lot of time on Memphis. That's great. They have so many relevant players right now.
Who would have thought Memphis would be arguably the most fantasy-friendly team?
I don't know if we can find another team that averages 8 dudes over 20 fantasy points. Maybe not even a team that has like 5 or 6 players over 20 fantasy points.
And Jaren Jackson, who is, by all accounts, their number 2 best player, hasn't even played a minute yet this season.
Right.
Craziness.
What's
Good
up
for
with
Memphis. They're. I mean, and a lot of these guys are younger.
And Winslow.
I mean, just
Winslow hasn't played. Winslow is an amazing talent.
what happened to Winslow? Where's he at? But,
he's just hurt. He's always
Yeah.
hurt.
Yeah, that's the
And-
issue.
before we get into Aiden's 4-man league, I need John to tell me sweet things about Cody Zeller for a little bit. Can you just run with this for a little bit for me?
Oh no.
I enjoyed watching Cody Zeller ball out against my Bucks so much that I did a fantasy draft in 2K and I got him and I just feed him the ball constantly. He's like leading scorer, rebounder, assister. He's incredible. Anyway, from a real basketball and also fantasy basketball perspective, he's absolutely balling out this season, and especially ever since they started giving him minutes, a healthy 25 plus minutes a game. He's running with it. He's absolutely on a tear. And for teams in need of a center, if you're lucky enough to pick him up, a week and a half ago, you're very, very happy because he's been filling that hole spectacularly well this season. Hopefully he can keep it up. I mean, hopefully he can maintain that position because I don't really know who he's competing with. Who is the other starting center in Charlotte? I don't even know off the top of my head. I know Biombo's on the roster. I'm sure they have someone else, but when
Zeller got hurt, it was pretty much Biombo that just was the starter right away, and then this has basically pushed Biombo to like you can't even use him. Like it's pretty much all Zeller. We just look at Biombo real quick and his numbers.
Can you bring up Charlotte's roster?
Yep, we can do that in a second. But just he didn't even play in the Milwaukee and the Miami game, so they're not even looking to give Zeller any relief. Where is Charlotte here?
I watched that Bucks game, they looked really good. LaMelo, I said some nasty things about LaMelo to start this season, and I've been so very wrong. This team is good. I'd love to see their fantasy points because I bet a lot of these guys are scoring 20 fantasy points a game.
Monk is having a fun fantasy year, isn't he?
Yeah, and he was just on ESPN's main website. They were kind of pumping him up a little bit. Let me just filter here by averages, and we'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players over 20 fantasy.
Wow. Oh my God! The Charlotte Hornets and the Memphis Grizzlies.
Yeah, the two most fantasy-friendly teams, man. Crazy.
I'm sick.
But this is an interesting roster. It kind of in some ways reminds me of the Hornets roster, of the Grizzlies roster. They just have an old man, Gordon Hayward, on the team. Beyond that, it's pretty much the same. And I love them. I love them both. I don't know what the hell they're trying to do, but I love it.
And it seems like if they want to go small with PJ Washington, I've noticed that he sometimes is their 5 on the floor, and they kind of do some more quicker lineups and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so,
he's listed as a small forward and a center.
Yep. So I don't think this Cody Zeller thing is like a flash in the pan. I think he's going to continue to stay on the floor, and he's a super good passer as a big guy. You see the 7 assists. He'll pop off for 4 every now and then, but he's
7 assists.
Well. He can see the floor, and then the blocks and the steals. He's active on the defense. You like that. But man, he's on the season. He's averaging about 27.5. I think he's going to settle somewhere in there in 30 at the point right now. But I don't know if they got 3-point shooters on the team too. So that's a good sign for the young Hornets. I think we looked at them. Weren't they like the 8th seed?
They are.
East.
Yeah.
The Hornets are a fun team. They got a young nucleus of guys there, and as long as Cody Zeller's playing the way they're playing, they just beat the Bucks the other night. So that's something to keep an eye on. The Charlotte Hornets, man, playing some good ball lately.
Just to put an exclamation point on Zeller, go to whatever your sports book is. Go to every game the Charlotte Hornets play for player props. Find the points, rebounds, assists combo bet, and just slap the over for the next 3 weeks and enjoy the money. Kyle, we need a fellowship patron so people can pay us back for our good advice. But pay us in the future.
Could we all just wear Cody Zeller jersey next Tuesday?
Let's get him on the show.
I've always been a Cody Zeller fan from the Indiana days. He's usually
doesn't
a guy.
He have like
I always end up with him on 2K, like John was saying. So
doesn't he have an incredible vertical leap?
I have no idea.
I'd have to double check, but
Cody Zeller. I mean, just look at that man.
nightmares.
You don't want to see that on the court.
Oh man. But I guess the other thing too is with the over-unders for his points, rebounds, and assists, anytime that's under 20, I'm taking that. If it's like 19 and a half, 20 in that range, I think he's a double potential candidate every night here. And then with the assist too, that's kind of free money. So anytime it's under 20, we're probably gonna snatch.
John hasn't paid for dinner since he started betting on Cody Zeller.
Oh man.
I've got a lot of free meals. I'll put it that way.
So I'm going to get into one of our questions here from Aiden. So he just started a 4-person league with some close friends, and the points are all double the value on ESPN. So threes are worth 5 points, and there's no way to lose points. So we drafted, and let me just keep reading here. So it seems like 3 points are worth 5. I think he said rebounds are worth 3. I can't remember. Steals might be worth 4 or something like that. And he had 11 spots to fill up on his bench from the waiver wire, people who didn't get drafted. So it's kind of like a second round where they're just adding guys for the bench here. And let's see. So like in a typical night, Fred VanVleet's got 80 points just from threes and steals and things like that. So it's kind of a boosted league. They're only playing with the starts and the studs. So yeah, go ahead and list Aiden, if you want to list your lineup and we can kind of evaluate it that way. I'm assuming you already filled out your 11 bench guys, but go ahead and fill out your lineup there. We can get to that whenever you're ready. But I want to know. I'm gonna bounce it back to Drake. What's on your mind, man? Is there any team or like should we open up anything in particular? Or like, is there anything that you want to make sure we look at?
There's a couple guys that I would like to look at. Actually, one guy, and that is for the Portland Trailblazers, Simmons.
Simons, yeah.
Yeah, Simons. A guy that's been on my watch list. I finally made the move and picked him up. He's kind of flirting in that 20 range right now for you, but he's getting a lot of minutes right now with all the injuries there. And just someone, if you're looking for an opportunity to play a lot of minutes and maybe he'll get you 32 points, that he's a guy I would look at.
So is he a rookie this year? I can't remember.
Second or third year guy this year.
Yeah.
So let's just take a peek real quick.
Right now with the Trailblazers, I think Hood is out. Derek Jones Jr. is out.
Of course, McCollum and Nurk.
Yeah, McCollum's out. So, I mean, this guy is just getting kind of tossed into it to just cover up minutes.
Yep. And
Nasir Little had the game of his life, and he's already day-to-day. So
yeah. It's a rough situation over there. So if you're finding guys that are just plugging minutes, maybe you'll be able to capitalize on it.
And I guess Gary Trent's another, because I was looking at the Portland Trailblazers trying to figure out who.
Yeah, Trent Jr. was actually listed as injured yesterday, but he's another guy to look at.
So I guess just if I filter here by last 7 days, you're going to see that Simons is averaging 21.7, which is great. If he can, as long as McCollum is out, you're going to probably see some value out of Simons here. And then the other guy would be Gary Trent. Trent, he's kind of a roller coaster, but he's been playing better the last few games. You just have to be able to be okay with some of these 9.5s to these 13.5s, but he's going to get you some high. He's a scoring,
Look at all those minutes too.
And they want to get him on the court. Even when McCollum was playing, he was on the court quite a bit. And it's just kind of this roller coaster of points. But I guess he's averaging almost 18 points on the season. And if you just filter by last 7, he's averaging 26.3. So a guy this is the other feature too that I like on ESPN is they're going to compare your season stats to the last 7 days. And basically all of his numbers are up. Any category, I guess assists are still 1-to-1, but he's playing good ball and he's getting a lot of minutes. So I think
basketball is super important to just ride those hot hands. If some guy's playing hot, jump on it.
And then I guess I haven't really used this feature that much, but let's just filter by Portland and see what's been going. I want to see how many people are averaging over 20 points on Portland real quick. Just go by all. Okay, so they only got 6. So it seems like a common thing for most teams to have at least 5 or 6. Derek Jones, Gary Trent, Simons are all kind of right there. And if we just filter by the last 7 days, you're going to see Lillard, Conter. Conter is a guy that blew up. I hope a lot of people are able to snag him. But Robert Covington's playing well. Derek Jones Jr. So what's up with him?
He's hurt right now,
and he's actually been.
He's fun when he's playing. He's owned, but
Interesting. He's only.
I think he's hurt for a while, isn't he?
It just says
I think so. Yeah.
he's missed his third game in a row.
Sprained foot.
It hasn't really given us a timeline here. It just says he's been out. I guess it's a good
I
news.
think John mentioned sprained foot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it said down there. That sounds bad. I mean, he's a leaper too. Like
Yeah,
he's an
he definitely
athlete.
does.
Like he has no jump shot. That sounds bad to me.
What a depleted team again. Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
because we were talking about it off the air a little bit, what
boy.
is it? Nasir Little? What can you just tell the people a couple good things about our man here? Because he's worth adding to the watch list. That's the only thing I want to make. That's the only point I want to make. I'm not adding him, to get him in my lineup. But anytime a player scores 30 points and gets 30 minutes, that's going to make the team think about getting him more minutes. I think this was a blowout against Milwaukee, but almost 48 fantasy points. That's something to at least add to the watch list and see if he's going to get about 20 minutes the next few games. Because if I don't know, good things can happen if he can string some consistency together. He's a player that Portland is just not a good team right now. They're trying things out. They're struggling to get a good rotation. So
Nasir Little was a guy that you could have looked at a couple of years ago on some mock drafts. I don't know if anyone here follows NBA mock drafts, but he was projected before his actual college season started to be like a top 5 pick, top 10 pick lock. And he just he was a 5-star, just dynamite recruit for UNC. He never even got to start. He ended up being kind of like their 6 or 7 man, and Roy Williams had some comments about him. He just wasn't ready, really, even for college. And then he went out his freshman year. And for a guy like Roy Williams, you usually don't take college coaches what they say, but a guy like him to say something like that, he didn't think Nasir was really ready even for the college role at that point. But the talent is there, and in the NBA, talent can take over, and we see that. You can see these streak games from him, and maybe he starts picking up on consistency because the guy's got all the talent in the world.
Anything to add?
And the opportunities there. I mean, we just talked about it. They're missing all sorts of wing players from McCollum. Trent is banged up from time to time. Derek Jones Jr. is out right now with something that I think is probably relatively serious or semi-serious. Hood is out all the time. Maybe not right now, but certainly from time to time. I mean, the opportunity is there for Little to do something if he's going to do something. So it could be, he could be kind of for him, he could be in a desperate situation for his career, and maybe he takes advantage of it. So maybe everything kind of clicks into place. I agree with Drake wholeheartedly. The talent is very much there. The dude is a freak athlete, and probably a top, 10% in terms of talent in the league right now, like upside or whatever you want to call that.
And sometimes all it takes is just one game for a player to kind of say, hey, I can play with these other players. I can play in this league. I know it was a blowout. He did a lot of things in the second half, but maybe this is just the sign of the light turning on for him as a player. Maybe he had a good week of practice or something even too. But just definitely just add him to the watch list and see if he can start stringing together some consistent minutes. That's going to be telling, I think, for his value. But it looks like Aiden entered in his team. So the question is, he wants to know who his worst player is on this team here. Let me just kind of read out some of these names. So we got Kyrie Irving, Kawhi Leonard, Russell Westbrook, Paul George. Looks like Grant. That's Jeremy Grant. That's Andrew Wiggins, Joel Embiid, Rudy Gobert, Fred VanVleet. Looks like Mike Conley, Anthony Davis. A lot of names on this list. Michael Porter Jr.
I mean, you don't have to read them all.
Yeah.
OG
Yeah, we can read them.
OG Anunoby is his worst player by far, and you have a great team, but you're in a 4-person league, so I mean, it's not surprising.
So,
it's let me look at here.
Is Markkanen maybe the worst player?
Yeah, I'm looking at Markkanen maybe. I'm not looking for worst players, just maybe players he can replace when we see the waiver wire.
Yep.
Is that fair?
Aiden, can you?
Markkanen, Dejounte Murray, OG Anunoby, Valanciunas, maybe even. Yeah. Maybe even Drew Holiday, De'Aaron Fox, Oladipo. I mean, I don't know what the.
You're not replacing De'Aaron Fox.
Fair enough. Probably not.
But yeah, Oladipo. I think what do we have? A list of 4 or 5 that we could look at his waiver wire then.
Yeah, Aiden, you can just give us a list of maybe the 5 or 6 best players available by points per game, and then I did want to pull up maybe because this is again it's weighted by points. There's 3-pointers are 5 points, and it looks like rebounds, steals, and blocks are worth 4. So maybe we just kind of poke some fun, and let's just take a look at the NBA standings, and we'll see who's like leading in these categories. Because maybe some players will stick out more so than the others.
So rebounds are worth
Randle
the same as the rebounds are worth the same as steals and blocks. That's interesting. So Aiden, so all your big guys get way more valuable.
Is Andre Drummond the best?
Yeah. So like when I say Jonas Valanciunas isn't so valuable, I take that back now because he's super valuable. 4-point rebounds. I would just get as many big guys as I could.
Zeller. We were talking, like I was talking
Drummond, right there.
But I think it was yesterday, and I had him pick up Zeller because that just seemed kind of silly. But guys who might be available on that list, I mean,
Christian Wood maybe.
There's a guy like if Cantor is still available, like would you take him? He's kind of a double machine. He's not going to get in threes, but he's got blocks and some potentials for steals. I'm just looking here. Not a big block guy, as I thought. Maybe let's filter.
I was picturing Julius Randle. I don't know what his situation is, but I was thinking he kind of fit this league perfectly. So he's
oh my gosh.
What do we think about a guy like Jared Allen?
I mean, but again, his minutes are going to be a little limited right now. You're looking at that 25 to 30. I mean, his league is so stacked. I already talked about Jared Allen, how you got to have him on a fantasy team, but maybe not in this league.
All right, before I hit the filter, who do you guys think leads the league in blocks per game?
It's Miles Turner.
Yep, that's if Miles Turner is
available. So the real question is who is second, and that is
so he's got Rudy.
What
about a guy like Chris Boucher? He's a block monster. He doesn't get a lot of rebounds. His 3 points are 1.6 per game. But I think if Miles Turner is available, that's the dude that you have to go get. He's going to hit 1.5 per three-pointers per game, almost 4 blocks per game. He'll chip in a steal. He'll get the rebounds and the assists. So, man, if Miles Turner is available, I think that could be a lot of fun. It doesn't look like it is. He listed the players here that he's got available. So that's Harrison Barnes.
So Cantor's looking. I'm thinking Cantor is worth.
Cantor definitely is worth.
Maybe Holmes even.
Holmes or Boucher.
I'm a big Rashawn Holmes fan.
So let's take a look at. So Holmes is up here with 1.8 blocks per game. He's got 8 rebounds. He's not going to hit you your threes, but 2 assists, almost a steal per game here. So that's kind of interesting.
Holmes is a really good choice, yes. Anyone who's getting rebounds is a good choice. Yeah, rebounds and threes is the trick, but those guys are hard to come by.
So I think I can make the argument that Chris Boucher should be the pickup because Boucher's averaging 2 blocks and he's averaging 1.6 3-pointers per game, and he's still getting 6 rebounds. So that's that kind of that's a 3-category player there that hits on the 4s and the 5s. So that could be kind of fun. He's also a guy that gets quite a bit of minutes too.
I feel like with the other two, and this is just my perspective, their consistency might keep up. I don't know how much longer with Boucher,
Holmes, and Cantor.
Yes, where I don't know how long.
I think Holmes is probably the guy that's got the most consistent.
It's probably the safest there.
Yeah, because Cantor, Nurkic is coming back at some point, and with Holmes, he's probably locked.
Cantor's that guy that always finds a role, though. I mean, he's just always playing.
And sometimes it just seems like even as the 6th or 7th man, he'll just come in and kind of wreck someone for 20 rebounds or something. He also threw out some other guys here. He's got Eric Bledsoe, Montrez, Ibaka, Fournier, and Clark. Should we just look at threes real quick and maybe because those are worth 5 points.
Man, Brandon Clark is a free agent, eh?
Brandon Clark might be nice.
Go get Brandon Clark. My goodness.
I'm just looking to see where does Clark fall? He's probably not a top rebound guy, but his value's got to be pretty nice. I didn't see him on this list. But Rashawn Holmes, man, I think that's the one that we're probably all thinking has a pretty good shot to be a good.
Boucher is a good pickup too. I mean, ride the hot hand. That's what we were talking about.
Who do we dump here for a Boucher or a Rashawn Holmes? Is it maybe Markkanen? Is it?
No, Markkanen is an incredible rebound. So I just looked this up. So over the past 3 weeks, guys who have got more than 6 or more rebounds a game and 2 or more 3-point makes a game. And Markkanen has like 3+ threes made a game and 6+ rebounds a game. He's for this kind of game type. I think Markkanen actually goes up the ladder in terms of value.
Interesting. So I'm trying to think. Does anybody stick out here for you guys? I know
Oubre.
What about John? Yeah, Oubre can go. I think Oubre.
Yeah.
Oubre can go. I think you keep.
You can probably go.
Oladipo could maybe go. OG is actually really valuable because he's another threes and blocks guy. Or excuse me, threes and rebounds guy.
So we're in
Wiggins could maybe go too. I mean, if you can find Wiggins, Oladipo, and maybe Dejounte Murray, and Oubre for sure.
So with Dejounte, you're gonna get assists. That's kind of the main thing.
But at most, we're kind of edging you to maybe pick up 1 or 2 players. So.
But Dejounte averages 7 rebounds a game, guys.
Yeah, nope. Keep Dejounte. Dejounte stays. I take it all back.
I think it's Golden State guys, right? I think it's the 2 Golden State guys that are worth.
Yeah, I think the 2 Golden State guys. If you want to cut, there's some just beautiful things sitting on that waiver wire for you.
I would cut Kelly Oubre last second actually, and pick up Brandon Clark, and just laugh all the way to the bank if I were you.
Check this out. So Aiden's kind of plugging us in. These are the numbers scored in the last 5 games. Like, look at Cantor's numbers. So Cantor's
100 and
and then look at Rashawn Holmes. I think I want some of these. I don't know what's with the 5, but.
I think it's last 5, and then it's the 5 numbers.
Look at Boucher's numbers.
So Boucher's the odd man out.
Boucher's the odd man. So we're saying
saying pick up Cantor and Holmes.
So are there multipliers? Like if you go over certain, like if you get a double or something, like why is Cantor getting 159s?
Because he gets like 20 rebounds some games. Cantor's a beast. Let's see here.
Cantor is a fantasy.
He had 23 rebounds the other day. He's been getting blocked.
That's for that. Yeah.
He had 22 points. He doesn't seem like a guy that hits threes, right?
No, he's not. He doesn't hit threes.
Maybe we're too focused on threes.
Purely getting him for these rebounds. Man, Clint Capella would be fun in this league.
Oh my god.
But I think so. We're in agreement. We like Cantor. We like Holmes. We'd probably. Aiden, are you able to type us in the numbers for Kelly Oubre and Andrew Wiggins? Just out of curiosity, I just want to see what their last 5 games looked like. But we got another question real quick. We'll pivot to this. What's going on, Lucius? Thank you for hanging out.
Lucius.
What do you think of DeAndre Hunter for the rest of the season for Points League? Drake, you're a big DeAndre Hunter owner. You had to put him on IR this week. What can we expect from him rest of the season?
Well, Lucius, it totally depends on your league. But DeAndre Hunter is going to be out for a while. The diagnosis right now, and in NBA terms, it's very bad. I was just shaking my head on Monday morning. He has knee inflammation, and they're going to re-examine it in a week, which means that
back another 2 weeks.
Yeah, and that's best case scenario. If he's getting inflammation in the knee, this could be a larger thing for a young team that has actually a lot of depth right now.
Right. Go pick up
you don't see DeAndre Hunter getting rushed back anytime soon. So I think if you have some extra IR spots, stash him, kind of see what happens. I'm given, the sad death penalty news right now. Maybe it's all positive on Sunday. I don't know.
When I initially read the report, I was like, we're not going to see him till after All-Star break. Partial knee tear for one of their. This is going to be one of their future core players. That
I don't think we see DeAndre Hunter maybe this season. To be honest,
I guess long story short, Lucius, is if you have an IR spot, hold him. Otherwise, I think you could let him go if you guys don't have an IR spot. If it's just one spot and you have someone already blocking it, maybe just set DeAndre Hunter free, and we'll watch for him to hopefully get back to full health. But yeah, it's a bummer. But I guess the other guys in his place, you got Kevin Huerter probably getting more minutes. He's been hitting threes, and then you probably got Cam Reddish as the next man up. Maybe Danilo Gallinari gets a little bit more minutes too. Is he hurt? With John shaking his head no.
First off, Gallinari is always hurt, so the answer to that question is always yes. Even when he's healthy, he's hurt. Can we just focus on that negative 1.25 there? Because I started him when he had that score, so I just wanted to call that out quick. So just my obligatory FU Danilo Gallinari call out.
All right, so he's on the no-fly list. Let's just take a peek real quick at Cam Reddish, because he's been hurt too, and now he's kind of playing back now. Hasn't been playing great, but the minutes are up. We just got to get this scoring back up to his season averages. But
he's inconsistent. Reddish is. I like Reddish. He needs a lot of work. He needs to polish his game off. He's got the tools, but he just needs.
Is that the
polish.
story of the Hawks right now? Is that they have the tools and maybe just need some polishing?
Seasoning. They need
either that or they just need Clint Capella to be Clint Capella every game.
And I guess the probably the best answer for replacement here is going to be Kevin Huerter. He's got value even when Hunter was on the court. So this is a guy probably going to somewhere average around this 23, 24 points per game. So I do like Huerter probably the best. But thank you for.
Can we look at the Hawks roster quick? Maybe there's a random guy that's going to start picking up some minutes. I think I agree with you. I think
about a Hawks player here.
Do you know who they need to call? They need to call Vince Carter. See what?
No, stop, sir.
All right. So just on the season here, Trae Young and Capella both averaging about 42. John Collins at 32. Hunter was their fourth best fantasy player, just under 30. Herder's the fifth best player. And then after that, it gets. I mean, whatever happened to Bogdan? He's in.
He would be the perfect replacement.
So it looks like early March, man. If this is a guy here who
early March.
So it's gonna be another month, but maybe several weeks away yet. That was on January 12th. So this
is in trouble.
This is a guy to just add to your watch list and just check the news and notes maybe towards the end of the month.
What's going on with their rookie?
Okwangu?
I know he's not a huge scorer, but I mean, yeah.
It looks like he comes in spurts and plays pretty well.
He can get for fantasy. I think he'd be good. I just know he's not a huge points guy, but
I want to filter by the last 7 days real quick and see if anyone else pops out. It looks like maybe Rajon Rondo might be.
I've checked on Rajon Rondo the last couple of weeks. It's not adding up. He's not getting enough. Look at that. He's getting 12 minutes.
You guys see this dude's dunk on Top Shot? Oh man.
No, I can't afford such things.
But yeah, the Hawks, man, again, they're what, like the 7th seed? This is a team that might fall out of favor at some point now that they're collecting injuries. So that's a little frustrating.
Solomon Hill could be a guy to watch because he's one of their forwards, and I know he mostly plays power forward for them this year, even though they have him marked as a small forward. But with Gallinari made of glass and all these other wing injuries, I think Solomon Hill could be in line for more minutes. He's not good, and he's also super old. But I mean, if he's getting 25 plus minutes a game, he's probably going to be relatively useful once in a while.
Yeah, he's more of a 20-man league guy here for.
Did he play on the Bucks at some point?
The name sounds familiar, but I don't think so.
No.
Aiden did give us some numbers here. He did say Steven Adams can be picked up, and then he did say 6 points for a double-double. This is kind of a fun, crazy league. So he said Steven Adams can be picked up, and then he gave us the Wiggins line the last 5 games, which seems solid. That's again,
Wiggins worth keeping.
You got Oubre, who has popped off.
But looks at 30.
And then
maybe just hold everyone. I have no idea what I'm looking at here. It's wild. It's the wild
West.
West.
Pick Brandon Clark up. So I think Aiden, that's your move. You decide who you want to drop and pick Brandon Clark up.
Yep, I agree with that wholeheartedly. Yep.
He did give us 3 other names here that are available. You got Harrison Barnes, who's 4 games over 100 points. This looks pretty consistent. Keldon Johnson also having some nice pop-off games here. He's got a floor somewhere in the 50s to 60s. And then you got Al Horford. Have you guys seen the Al Horford numbers the last week or so?
I have.
He's been putting up some mad. Yeah, I don't know. I still think Holmes and Cantor are probably the best 2 pickups. I'd be curious to see what those Steven Adams last 5 games would look like. But for double-doubles, like Holmes and Cantor, Those guys seem to be probably your best bets. But I don't know. We got about 10 minutes left on the show. Is there any final things that you guys want to make sure we talk about? Should we look at any team in specific? Or do you guys want to kind of just walk down a list of names and just kind of start spitballing a little bit?
Can we look at the Knicks?
The Knicks.
Since we've spent a lot of time looking at middling NBA teams, I would love to finish
So
it
anybody
off with
that
most middling.
liked Obi Toppin this year, pretty much he has been sent to the Shadow Realm.
Yep.
By his coach, which
Right, that
Thibodeau tends to do, which is never good for young developing teams, which is why I thought the Knicks signing Thibodeau was a terrible idea. But that's beside its point. I don't see a future right now for Toppin.
So he looks overwhelmed as some of the quotes coming out here.
He's not playing that two-way ball. And that's exactly what Thibodeau wants. You have to play mad defense and you have to play hard on offense. You got to do it both ways.
Should we check out this Julius Randle reaction to when Toppin was drafted? Just curious. This might be more difficult than I thought. But real quick, just looking at the Knicks, I think the one guy that's kind of the buzz name here is going to be Emmanuel Quickly. I don't know if you guys know much about Emmanuel.
No.
I think he's
I learned a lot about Emmanuel Quickly last week.
Yeah, Dalton put it down with Emmanuel Quickly. And he seems to be taking over as their best point guard. I know Elfrid Payton's been kind of losing minutes. You look at Payton's minutes, the last 7 days, less than 21 minutes per game. You look at Quickly, this guy's been averaging 26, so there seems to be a little shift here in the point guard minutes, and he's only 35.4% owned. This is a guy that I talked about last night in my waiver wire show as being a guy that if you need point guard points, this is a guy that's trending up right now. It's probably their starting point guard. Where I don't know much about Quickly. Like, where did he play college? Like, what's the story on him?
All I know is that he loves Lou Williams, and that was what he based his game off of.
Interesting.
Yeah, I have no idea where he played in college, but I've definitely watched him play in the NBA, and he's legit. I mean, for all these reasons we're just talking about, how Thibodeau can be the kiss of death for rookies. Look at all these terrible things happening to Obi Toppin. Emmanuel Quickly is bucking that trend 110%. He's getting minutes as the season goes on. He's earning Thibodeau's trust. I mean, things you just do not see rookie players do in a Thibodeau team. Quickly, not only is he looking pretty good, I think there's upside for improvement. He's still not really crushing 30-plus minutes a game with any level of consistency. I think even if he's rostered in your league, he's the kind of guy, you maybe go try to trade for at this point. But if you're in one of those, in 2/3 of leagues where he's not owned, absolutely grab him now if you need any kind of guard help, because I think he's going to be that guard help for, a long, long time this season.
So I have the weird thing, like the Knicks are kind of like my darling team. I think the NBA is fun when the Knicks are a good team. I know it's been a while since they've been a quality team, but Quickly, in the couple games that I've seen him play, my comparison for him is going to be Colin Sexton. The dude's a scorer, and he just looks fun with his. He just wants to attack. He's kind of he will pick up assists and help it in the rebounds and stuff too. But he's a good scorer. He works well off the ball too. So he's kind of I don't know. I think this is going to be a guy that we'll probably talk about next season as being a potential sleeper as long as he keeps scoring and getting all these minutes, logged in his rookie season. But just looking at the other Knicks here, do you guys want to make any comments on anything that sticks out? I mean, of course, Randall, and it's all about Randall, Barrett, and probably Mitchell Robinson. But Alec Burks is probably a guy that should be owned.
Yep, definitely.
Only less than 27% owned too, and
Burks is another Thibodeau guy. He can play both ways. He plays really good defense, and he's really solid on the offense and on both, all sides of it. So he doesn't have to be scoring to be effective.
Right, and just with Thibodeau, like the veterans usually get the benefit of the doubt. And
Kevin Knox is another guy that is just, to John's point, I think he's getting the Thibodeau fade here.
To be fair, Knox has been absolutely terrible his entire NBA. This is year 3 for him, right?
2.
Okay.
But yes, yeah, he's not.
That's fair. Well, he needs more
He
run.
reminds me a lot of Obi, to be honest. I mean, coming out of college, I thought they were kind of the same player. Explosive dunks and can move and
Same position, same height.
Yeah, can create the difference in college, but what's going to happen when you get to the pros?
Can't play defense.
Right.
So Noel, though, has kind of picked up in his career here. I've noticed he has some nice spike games. His
32 points, yeah.
To 14 points for a floor, and he'll pop off with these blocks. And the rebound spikes are nice, but just look at some of the blocks here. This is a pretty productive player on the defensive end. But of course, Mitchell Robinson's kind of in the way there at center. But they got a pretty nice young rotation of centers there. I kind of like that.
How many minutes is Noel is playing? You would think he's probably getting at least 20 plus a night. Look at that, 28 and 25.
In the last 7 days, it's been about 23.
So he seems like a good guy, to your point, to maybe look at putting on that watch list. Because again, he's going to play both ways for Tom, and this is a long season, and this is a bad roster.
Right. So I think the point with the Knicks is, of course, people have Randall Barrett and Mitchell Robinson, but consider Alec Burks. He's going to be a steady veteran presence, and then quickly, I think, is the guy that's taking over here for Elfrid Payton. I saw Elfrid Payton was dropped in our league, which was a surprise. This was a triple-double machine not too long ago, and it just seems like he's kind of falling out of favor here, not really running a great offense. So I've noticed, again, he's down about 13.6% from being rostered, so a lot of people are kind of dumping him for the rookie here out of Kentucky, Emmanuel Quickly. But I just want to, Aiden got us some numbers real quick on some of these guys. These are Steven Adams numbers the last 5 games. I think we got to take that. Give me that over probably Oubre or Wiggins. And then the other one here he threw out is Drew Holiday putting up some mad numbers, and then John Wall. So those guys are staying for sure. And then apparently Fred VanVleet's got 9 3-pointers in this game tonight right now. We should probably check out that box score real quick. But I don't know, man. I think you're playing in a league that's very star-studded and very heavy. And it's difficult to cut some of those guys. But between Cantor, Holmes, maybe even Steven Adams, I think those are probably the candidates that we're looking to.
VanVleet has 37, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, and 2 blocks.
2 blocks.
VanVleet has been balling out.
He must have got Cole Anthony on some shit. But Fournier's playing well. Looks like James Ennis is playing decent minutes, 16 and 19 for Clark. My boy Kem Birch, nothing special. But man, Fred VanVleet, he's up to 37 points now. 10 threes, 10 for 11 on threes. Whew.
Wild. Absolutely wild.
It's a quick 50 points in that scoring.
Am I playing against Van? I'm probably playing against him.
No, I don't have VanVleet. That's my brother. Okay. You're getting like double takes.
I knew a Bauer was playing VanVleet.
VanVleet having a day. But I don't know. We got about two more minutes left in the show. Any final thoughts here before we wrap up tonight?
How are the Raptors only up 3 when VanVleet has hit 10 threes in 3 quarters? That's why that team is not good.
Against the Magic too, of all teams.
The depleted Magic.
We just talked so much trash about the Magic's roster tonight.
It looks like they're not doing anything special. They're 10 of 26 and they're shooting 50% from the field. The free throw shooting, dang, and the Raptors are 20 for 20 from the free throw. What is going on?
I mean, look at the Baines has 2 points.
Yeah, that's
their bench has nothing. They have 6 total points on their bench.
Okay, so we talked about Drummond being traded. The Raptors need a center, like bad. They I don't know what it would cost.
Do the Raptors trade for Andre Drummond?
What did they give up?
I think you'd probably give up OG maybe? I don't know.
Because Drummond's making what, 27 million this year?
27 mil, so
you need to get to what, 22 basically?
Yeah, they couldn't. I don't know if they could. Yeah.
Powell makes probably of their non-stars, Powell makes the most. So you have to throw Powell into the deal and then all their trash and then maybe picks or something.
Would it have to be like one of Boucher or OG in that deal?
I think OG would have to be in the deal just for the upside. transfer.
That'd be a really good move for
I really like Thomas. Thomas doesn't play much. Matt Thomas there on the bottom, but he's an extremely efficient scorer.
Something like Baines, Thomas, OG, and Powell, and maybe a pick or something, or maybe no picks. I don't know for Drummond.
Maybe
That would be pretty close on salary. That might not even be enough on salary. I don't know.
Right.
Stanley Johnson could be kind of fun, but I don't know.
But you had mentioned center, so it's interesting to think.
I'm gonna do it in the NBA trade machine really quick.
What does Drummond do for the Raptors?
He just needs to get rebounds and look pretty. That's all he needs to do. I think because just looking at this, like they don't really have Kyle Lowry is their leading rebound man with 7. That's a problem. You're not gonna put up with Vucevic's in his 12. Like you look at the rebound game, the Magic have 31 and it's 22 to the Raptors. So that's why they're letting the Magic kind of stay around here.
Mm-hmm.
But here's a quick question for you, Drake. Any names we should trade for in that league? Who's the best 3-point shooters? I would look for categories like that. If you can buy low on some guys. Drake, we kind of made that one list of buy low candidates like Devin Booker. We were talking about him a little bit. Guys like Jamal Murray. Who are some other potential?
Siakam was a guy we were looking at. Drummond was another guy we were looking at in buy low targets.
Jared Allen might make himself.
Jared Allen.
Are we trying to? Would you go after Clint Capella in that massive rebound league? If you can get him.
Yeah, it's so hard to tell. What's it going to cost you?
Right, and then I just want to filter by. Oh, this is by team. Dang it! I wanted to filter, but John, did you type that in there for us?
Yeah, you can't trade Baines right now, but you could probably trade him in the future. You would have to do Powell, Anunoby, Stanley Johnson, so you have to throw one more player in there, Matt Thomas and Baines to make the money work to get Drummond. But I don't think the Cavs could take on that many players. So I don't know. I'm sure someone can do the financial gymnastics, but it's not me.
No. There's NBA trades. There's a guy cutting this player, signing this player, send this guy over to the third team. Sometimes there are 4 teams involved. I have no idea.
Should I get another team involved? Who would be the third team in this trade?
I think we kind of know what it would take. But if I'm the Cavs, I'm getting Matt Thomas. That is the piece of the deal.
That is the prize. That is the prize. That is the jewel. But I don't know. We're a little over an hour. I guess we'll sign off on that one. I want to thank Aiden for hanging out, Lucius for the question. We had Sam and Justin also in the chat room at some point tonight. But I don't know. I'll go live Thursday night. We'll hang out, answer more questions from the chat room. Any final thoughts, John, before we get out of here?
Nah.
Good. Drake, thank you guys for hanging out.
TNT Tuesdays, guys.
Yeah,
TNT Tuesdays.
Got some good games to finish.
Some games.
Celtics. Cody Zeller over. Hit Cody Zeller over on all player props.
You will pay for your dinner for the rest of the month.
And then check out Emmanuel Quickley's props. I think that might be something I take a peek on going forward. But we'll see. We're betting on all these shitty teams, so something's gonna hit it.
Going for lobster.
But anyways, we're out of here. Have a good night. We'll talk to you guys later. Peace.